Hi, this is Chris Brown of TPR Tools and creator of the Grandwork regulation station, continuing my description of use of the regulation station to assemble and regulate a grand piano action. We've just completed the hammer line and done the winking. Two steps made possible with assurance by having set the springs. So once we had leveled and dipped the keys, we did the back checks and set the springs so that we could then set the jack to knuckle position and do the hammer line and the winking without having to repeat that later on in the process. And once that is completed, it is time to do the let off and drop. Now, in setting up the let off and drop, we reference the upper collar. So we're at hammer line at the moment, and by raising the regulating rack rail to the upper collar, we are at string height. Wesson Liquid & Gross makes this dimension gauge. This middle dimension I've used in setting up the legs of the regulating rack. So I set up that lower collar to that middle distance, and then above the collar I set up the bracket for the rail at blow distance, which is 1 3/4 inches, or whatever you determine it to be. You could make a different thickness gauge, but this is 1 3/4 inches. And then the top collar is brought down to the top of the bracket. So touching that top stop collar, we're at strike. Touching the bottom one, we're at hammer line. So if we go up to the strike position and we employ the two thinnest settings of the gauge, okay, the thicker one we're going to use for the bass. Now, if you can see that, just tighten it down, and we have a suitable let off for the bass. In trouble, the same thing applies. Tighten it down. And now we're ready to go to set the let off and drop for the entire action. So you just move from section to section and do it all the way through. Now at this point, once the let off and drop have been set, we have the key dip in place for both the sharps and the naturals. We have the blow distance in place, and we have the let off and drop. And that means that we have aftertouch. Get in closer. So we have an accurate aftertouch for the naturals. Let me bring that down a bit more so we can look up. And that means that we can set the dip of our sharps to replicate that aftertouch, making the action very even to play. And that concludes the work that we do on the regulation station. And the next steps are to install it in the piano, where the work left to do is the fine spacing of the hammers and the fitting of the hammers to the strings at pitch in tune, and subsequent voicing. The regulation station with the custom key bed, the regulating rack, the string height gauge system, and the squaring platform with shank traveler and hammer square allow you to accurately regulate top action and keyframe out of the piano and have it work as expected upon installation in the piano. Thank you very much.